there are things that we don't want to happen, but we have to accept. There are things that we don't want to learn, but we have to. And there are people that we can't live without, but have to let go. You took the bravest step right now. You took a deep breath and you walked through that door to a surreal life event that you would never, ever believe would be happening to you. You're both overwhelmed by emotion and completely empty. And when you look around and you feel around, each person sitting in this seat is exponentially populated by everybody that's joining us on live stream, by everybody around the world that Jason met and touched and embraced. There is this magnitude of love that exists right now for Jason. And so for these next few moments, we have to use that as our oxygen to breathe him in and keep him within. Everyone has come together today to stand in support and respect, in solidarity, in silence, and in honor. They stand to remind the family that in your darkest hour, every one of these people, all of you, in their hearts, are here to fill your souls. We gather to say this amazing young man touched each and every person in this room in his time on earth. That was much too short. We gather for Jason. Welcome, everybody. My name is Kelly Malash, and I'm honored and I'm humbled to be the funeral celebrant today as we gather to celebrate the life and mourn the death of Jason Wallen. When this brilliant, kind, energetic beyond measure, and humbly thoughtful young man is taken way too soon, and in such a tragic and unknowable way, it's vital that we stop to breathe. Look back and remember, gather stories and smile, and lean on each other for what feels like life-giving support. The room is filled with anger, questions, grief, and unthinkable loss. You want to stomp your feet and you want to scream. You want to pull in a real-life fairy tale. A miracle from the Hallmark Channel where grief becomes gold in this blink of an eye, of a true love twinkle within the eye. You want to close your eyes and just hope that you'll wake up from this nightmare. How could a young man, safe in his home office, excited to see the next day, come to a too soon end? And while there are so many questions soon to be answered, the most important question is, what can I do to help navigate these dark waters so that you can feel my hand reaching out? And the weird thing about devastating loss is that life actually goes on. When you're faced with a tragedy, a loss so huge that you have no idea how you can live through it, somehow the world keeps turning. The seconds keep ticking. And this room is also filled with memories and stories and gratitude for being part of Jay's life, for the time that he walked this earth. No. No, Jay didn't walk the earth. Jason soared. He laughed. He never carried cash, so he went to the Bank of Mitchell. He healed others. He smiled. Oh, how he smiled, right? Every person in his immediate family, his work family, and his family of friends will remember Jason for his smile, his infectious laugh, his mastery of every accent possible, his craver entrances to a room, and most importantly, his selfless spirit. They will remember his love of breakfast buffets, his commitment to others and being his word, his love of family and friends, his ability to make everyone else around him happy just because he was there. The twinkle in his eye and his ability to make you feel that, yes, you will be fine. Words that felt like a B12 shot directly to your soul. When we gather like this, it is so imperative just to catch your breath for a second, to focus on this amazing life that was lived in such a short time, and to find a new perspective on how Jason will be remembered. Because his dying, shattering, his living, incredible. And we are here for Jason's family. We join our hearts with his best friend, his wife, his favorite coffee date, Ashley. Jay was a devoted and amazingly proud daddy. He was an inspiration. He was a role model. He was a hiking partner of Shaughnessy and partner Janet, Cole, and Mitchell. Jay was the remarkable brother of Tristan. Dave and Nancy, Ma and Pappy, have lost a son-in-law that doubled as a hero and was most certainly a treasured addition to the family. Lindsay and husband Tim, Matt and wife Ashley adored their brother-in-law with every fiber of their body and will keep him safe in their hearts always. Emma and Olivia lost a rock star of an uncle. And right now, the precious angel preparing to make its way as the newest addition of the Joneses family is getting some huge love and coaching from Uncle Jay. And if this little one day insists on swimming with their glasses on, we're gonna know why. There are Lynn colleagues and a sea of friends that are rocked to their core at the loss of Jason. The collective grief is enormous because that is the measurement of the love that was felt for Jay. And when we're trying to find our breath and our ability to take in this moment of this far too soon goodbye, we can be comforted to know that Jason was greeted with the hugest hugs from his true hero, his dad, and his mom. Together they are looking over all of you, and they're keeping an eye out on Devil and Draper Lakes. They're heavens on earth. Our hearts break. Our hearts break as you will miss this man who is such a large presence and an influence, not only on you and each other, but on the whole tapestry of the world. So to help us ease into this moment, best that we can, let's take a few minutes to exhale, to bring our hearts, to bring our minds, to bring our spirits into the room as we listen to the following song and ponder Jay's sage old advice about everything. Have a Coke and a smile.
two walls, been married and divorced. What brings you to Ohio? Sit down and find out. We talked an hour or two about every girl we knew, what all we put on through, like two old balls of blue. We pondered life and death. He lit a cigarette. Said these damn things will kill me, yeah. God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy. Last call is 2 a.m. I said goodbye to him. Never talked to him again. Then one sunny day, I saw the old man's face. Front page obituary. He was a millionaire. He left his fortune to some guy he barely knew. His kids were mad as hell. For me, I'm doing better. And I drive by today, just say thanks and pray. And I left a 6-pack right there on his grave. And I said, God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy. God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy. God is great, beer is good, and people are crazy.
After high school, the influence of his father guided him to the Army Reserves from the ages of 19 to 21. Then it was off to the University of Windsor to brilliantly step into his call.
A week ago, we lost my dad suddenly. I am shocked, devastated, mad, sad, confused, and all around in a whirlwind of emotions. I wish that I would have known that our last conversation would have been the last, because I would have told him how much I loved him, how much he inspired me, and just how proud I was to call him my dad. My dad had a bigger impact on me than I think he even knew. He introduced me to my love for nature, for science, for all things Star Wars, for history, for hot sauce, for the tragically hip. I didn't appreciate them as a kid, but I do now. My love for visiting historical sites and reading plaques in parks, for anything and everything that is marine related, for the world around us, and so much more. He taught me how to ride a bike without training wheels, how to fish, how to catch a frog, how to snorkel and free dive, how to appreciate the little things in life, how to use a computer. It was a lot more complicated back in the day. How to stop and smell the roses, and he tried so hard to teach me math, but there wasn't any helping with that. With all these memories, and with all those lessons, more and more memories were made, and I learned so much from him. He was my favorite teacher. If there was ever a time in my life that I could go back to, it would be the days that I spent on his shoulders going for ice cream or walking around Fort Henry. It would be the days that we spent snorkeling and trying to catch turtles in Devil Lake. The first time he ever got me to go cliff diving. The days on the boat, the picnics on the islands at the cottage, the days where we spent hours fishing. It would be the days that we laughed and laughed, even if it was at the expense of my Uncle Tristan and Grandpa. Sorry. Or even just the days where we lounged watching movies and eating pizza. I would go back knowing what I know now, and I would hug him a little harder with each goodbye. I'd tell him more often how important he was to me, and I would tell him more often how much I loved him. And I would truly cherish every single moment that I had with him. When you have young parents, you tend to take the time you have with them for granted. They're so young, you think I have a whole lifetime, but unfortunately sometimes we don't. Over the past few years, my dad and I have had our differences, but that's what made our bond so unique. Even in our busy lives, we still manage to have our inside jokes, our silly banter, and reminisce about the good old days. I know that I will always have these memories with me, and although he isn't around to laugh with me about them anymore, I'm still glad that I can, even through this devastation. Although my dad is gone, he will live on through me, his beautiful wife Ashley, my brothers, my uncle Tristan, and everyone that he has impacted along the way. He was a wonderful husband, an incredible dad, and all around just a fantastic human to be around. He will be missed very, very dearly. Thanks for being your dad.
There will be a tomorrow that exists without me. And I know that. And when that day arrives, I want this world to have seen a greater beauty because I existed. I want my life to have meant something. I want this world to be brighter. I want this world to be happier. I want people to have smiled more and have laughed more because I spent time here. And I want others to have seen and felt the uniqueness of my spirit. And if I accomplish that, when my soul does move on and my gift stays here and makes just one ripple, I will smile. I will smile wide. And the truth of the matter is that Jason didn't make a ripple. He made tsunamis of happiness and influence. It only takes a nanosecond for the thought of Jason to elicit a smile. If you worked with him, you watched him act shocked. What? This is a lunch and learn? Who knew? Sure, I'll have a piece of pizza. Can you point me to the hot sauce? Soon he had enough for his own takeout box as he made his rounds. And let's face it, the guy was his own confectionery, armed with toasters and coffee makers and a drawer full of snacks anyways. When his father-in-law saw Jay's name on his phone, and he knew he would hear, "Hey, Pappy." When he answered, he knew life was good. It's now my honor to invite Dave up to say a few words.
I have so many good stories and fun times of Jason, but just not enough hours in the day to tell you all. Nancy, my lovely wife, and I cherish Jason. Nancy always said, if we were to pick a husband for our daughter, Jason would be the one. Every time we would see Jason, he just made our day. He loved his family dearly. Jason just loved life. There's just not enough Jason Wallens in this world. Jason was not only her son, he was a good friend. And Jason will always have a special spot in Nancy and I's hearts.
love, what a tale if I could tell. Just like a paperback novel, the kind the drugstore sells. When you reach a part where the heartaches come, the hero would be me. Heroes often fail. You won't read that book again because the ending's just too hard to take. I walk away like a movie star who gets burned in a three-way street. Into number two, a movie queen to play the scene of bringing all the good things out in me. For now, love, let's be real. I never thought I could act this way. I've got to say that I just don't get it. I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone and I just can't get it back. If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. Just like an old-time movie about a ghost from a wishing well, in a castle dark or a fortress strong, with chains upon my feet. The story always ends. If you read between the lines, you'll know that I'm just trying to understand the feeling that you like. I never thought I could feel this way. I've got to say that I just don't get it. I don't know where we went wrong, but the feeling's gone and I just can't get it back.
When they first met each other, they couldn't have known how they'd fall for each other's laugh and their sense of humor. They didn't know that they would soon stop skipping sleep just to listen to the other one breathe. They didn't know they would get to know each other so well that it would just take one look to read each other's mind. They didn't know that one another's arms would soon become the safe haven from sadness. When they first met, they didn't know how lucky they'd become. Mildred was the retirement home resident Cupid, and Carolyn was witness to Ashley's first snub of Jason, leading to the beautiful romance that immediately ensued. Jason, brilliant as ever, knew marrying Ashley was the biggest blessing he could ever achieve. So he started proposing within the first 3 months. But he was always kidding, so when do you know when Jason's really not kidding? It wasn't until he finally got the ring that was taking such a long time in creation that he found Ashley, looking her best, that led him to popping the question and an exchange of their hearts, vowing to be connected forever and ever on June 4th, 2011. And when I meet with the families to learn about their loved ones, sometimes it's just this twinkle in their eye. Honestly, words are sometimes the last thing that they use to tell me about their loved one. It's a subtle change in their skin color when I mention something. It's this grin stained with tears that speaks about love and an indescribable bond. When I met with Jason's family, the love for him was palpable in the room. Cole and Mitchell, two beautiful boys that will grow up into the same greatness as their dad. Because everyone in this room and everybody on live stream will make sure of it. You will all remind these boys of how amazing their dad was in life and is in their hearts. Shaughnessy, who appreciates the outdoors because her father taught her the richness and the life to be found in nature, will return there in her healing. And then there is Ashley, one of the few people that will giggle when she hears a jingle prefacing the CBC news that Jason, the information junkie, was always glued to. When we meet, the families and I, the conversation flows organically as hearts gently open in the face of this unimaginable pain. Sometimes my questions, they need to ruminate with someone before an answer arrives because the ground is moving and there's not enough oxygen. And how do you stay present to something you don't want to have happening? So I ask all these questions, and sometimes the answers are just too far away to grab a hold of. So Ashley sat with our conversation. And I feel that if we're going to raise the bar on identifying how incredibly epic Jason was, then you must hear it from the one person that shares his soul. Ashley listened to my questions and then she responded with this. Kelly, you asked if we had to pick one word to describe Jason, what would it be? I said kind and compassionate. Of course, picking one word to sum up such a wonderful person is a difficult task. Shortly after you left yesterday, the word came to me. Incredible. Jason only had good qualities. There was nothing not to love. He wasn't just the love of my life. He was my best friend, my soulmate, my soft place to land, and my hero. From the day we met, we just fit together like puzzle pieces. When we started dating, he was 35 years old. He told me countless times and very often that we would be together for 65 years with options for 5. I always hoped he was right. Jason loved the kids and I with all his heart. We always knew we were his number one. I never worried about much because I had him. There was nothing that he wouldn't do for us, ever. And he was always so happy to do it. He had such a zest for life, a positive outlook, always reassuring that everything was going to be okay. He loved to take the boys to the beach to swim, our pool, walks in the provincial park, which he always referred to as hikes, and he loved riding his bike. He was so good at taking care of us. It didn't just stop with us either. He was happy to help whoever was in need, big or small, incessantly assuring whomever it was no trouble with his beautiful smile. He'd jump right up and take care of it, of course with a few jokes along the way. His sense of humor will be so missed. He would joke from first thing in the morning until we fell asleep at night. Most nights when the kids would wake up in the night, he would of course get there first. He would joke at 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the morning while doing so. Once he got them settled and crawled back into bed, he would give me a verbal report as to what the kids needed, and the care he provided in his nursing jargon, be it 2:30 in the morning. He just had this way of making everything funny. Sometimes I know I even felt bad for laughing at some of the things he made funny. He was just always a happy person. Always happy. I could never understand how someone could be that consistently happy all the time. When I would ask him how it was possible, he would say to me, "Life's too short." Happy, easygoing, always teasing us in good fun, but he was able to find the serious and take care of business whenever he needed to. He could flip the switch. He could take charge of a chaotic situation without hesitation and was the fastest on his feet in a crisis. He was brave, strong, and would always stand up for what he believed in. He would always tell me no matter what was going on, he would use the same word, fine. They'll be fine. Usually reassuring me about the kids or the situation at hand would be fine, especially when the kids were little. Admittedly, I was an anxious mother. Any cough or fever I would get so worried and excessive, you could say, without making sure that the kids were okay. Jason, like I said, would tell me 100 times they were fine. I remember one night Jason was leaving to go out and Mitchell was sick. He was telling me as usual how fine everything was. I couldn't wait for him to get out the door so I could call telehealth and speak to another nurse who could confirm that Jason's theory of Mitchell being fine. I called as soon as he left. I didn't waste a second as I didn't know how long Jason would be gone. I spoke to one nurse who said she'd call me back, waited on hold, spending almost all the time that I had. When the nurse finally said to me that she would have to call me back in about an hour, still with no answers or thoughts from her about my concerns. So, when she asked if it was okay if she called me back in an hour, I had to tell her no, as I was expecting Jason would be home by then. When I told her no, she was quite surprised and asked why. I was very frank with her and quickly explained that my husband was a registered nurse who always tells me that the kids are fine. He used to work in Emerge, so because we're not concerned about their ABCs, airway, breathing, and circulation, everyone's fine. And I waited for him to leave to make this call so he wouldn't know, and if she called back, she would blow my cover. I was met with the most unexpected response. I thought at the time of her uncontrollable laughter. I don't remember how many years I waited to tell Jason that story, but it was a while. I'll never forget how hard he laughed when I finally told him the story, and only laughed harder when I got to the end of the part about what I said to the nurse and how she just started to laugh. That story never got old when we talked about it, and he would laugh to tears each and every time. When he could finally stop laughing, he would only reiterate how they are fine. He was the smartest person I knew. Most people did not know that about Jason, but he was able to recall dates, locations, and names of what seemed to be every historical event going back hundreds of years. Geographical locations all over the world, just short of being able to give me the longitude and latitudinal coordinates. Biology, chemistry, physics, politics, medicine, anything military related, and a wealth of random facts, just to name a few of his strong suits. As perfect as I thought Jason was, he didn't think he was better than anyone. And it wasn't just something that his mother or father said to him. He truly believed it. He was so genuine, so personable, and so humble. Although I knew how lucky myself, our children, our family, and our friends were to have him, I always knew how lucky his patients and their families were to have him. Sometimes I thought Jason wrote the book on patient advocacy. He treated every one of his patients as though they were family. He was just as attentive, kind, and compassionate with them as he was with us. I got to witness it firsthand through the retirement home when we shared clients and we were first together. And I thought often how people would stop to tell me how wonderful his care was. He just had a way with people like no one I've ever met. The other question you asked me was, what bothered Jason? I really had a hard time thinking of anything that bothered him, especially something noteworthy. He was the most laid-back, easygoing person. He always made do and never complained. Almost like his standards were so flexible with everything, except hotels. His hotel standards were very high. I mentioned that to my friend last night, and nothing really bothered Jay. And in an instant, she said, sitting still, which is 100% right. That would have been the only thing that bothered Jay. Although, Kelly, I've lost the most precious person to me so suddenly, the worst, unimaginable possible thing. A long week full of sympathies and condolences. And I didn't get my 65 years with options for 5. It sounds so strange to say, but in the deepest part of my heart, I can't not feel lucky because Jason filled my heart up with enough love to last me 65 years. And I think everyone in this room, everyone on live stream, everyone that ever met Jason will never fully accept how such a huge heart can stop beating. Stop beating without even a hiccup of a warning. How can a heart that contained so much love not be blessed to share it for 65 with options for 5? And the only thing we can do to help make this bearable is in honor of Jason, is to live by his words. Life is short. So we must love fiercely and fully with every beat of our hearts. And we have to remember that love never dies, just people do. We must acknowledge that we are better people because Jason lived. And it's now our honor and our privilege and our duty to share the legacy of what he left with us, with whomever crosses our path. We must leave people better than how we found them. If anyone has a magic to help us heal this crazy world, it's Jason. It's the powerful and the loving, lasting legacy of Jason Wallen. To every single one of you that have taken a seat here today, on behalf of the family, thank you. I know if we had rented Ford Field and said, everybody that knew and loved Jason, please come, it would be standing room. To everyone on live stream, wherever you are, thank you. We feel you here. We appreciate you here. And for everyone that has rallied around the family with your love, your support, your words, your silence, your hugs, whatever it is, words sometimes, as I said, are the last thing that communicates. So on behalf of the family, thank you. And to the family, thank you for allowing me to know this man through your eyes and your heart. Thank you, Pappy, Dave, Shaughnessy, for your bravery to get up today to say the words that felt so much.
Thank you, Kelly. On behalf of Ashley and Cole and Mitchell, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for your beautiful service and your words of comfort today. And again, as Kelly mentioned, to each and every one of you for being here today, and those of you who joined us on live stream, thank you so much. At this time, our service is complete. Ashley has organized for all of you to join us for a wonderful lunch here at the funeral home. So if at this time we could invite everyone to please stand, and we will all follow in behind the family to the luncheon. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Yep.